On August 9, 2026, customs officers at a Texas airport seized nearly $4 million in fake Louis Vuitton and other luxury knockoffs in a single shipment. That's not an outlier. In fiscal year 2025 alone, U.S. Customs seized over 78 million counterfeit items, worth more than $7.3 billion if they'd been real. Handbags are consistently one of the most seized categories in the world. So what's actually going on here? Let's take it apart. Most people picture a counterfeit handbag as cheap junk. Peeling glue, crooked stitching, a logo that's slightly the wrong shade, sold off a folding table or a sketchy website. That version still exists at the bottom of the market. But it's not what's driving $4 million seizures at international airports. What's actually happening is that counterfeiting has professionalized into something closer to a parallel manufacturing industry, one that mirrors the real supply chain closely enough that even people in the resale business can get fooled. To understand why, you have to start with what a real luxury bag actually costs to make, because the gap between that number and the retail price is the entire reason this industry exists. A Louis Vuitton bag that retails for around $1,700 has an estimated raw materials and labor cost of about $170. That's a 10 times markup. A Chanel 25 medium backpack, retailing well into 5 figures, is estimated to cost roughly $1,000 to actually produce, even though a single Chanel 2.55 can take up to 18 hours of skilled labor. Some conglomerates are marking up handbags by as much as 20 times what they cost to make. None of that markup is a secret or a scandal. It's paying for design, branding, retail real estate, and the prestige itself. But it also means there's an enormous amount of room, financially, for someone else to build a bag that looks and feels nearly identical for a fraction of the price. That's exactly what the top tier of the counterfeit industry now does. Collectors and counterfeiters call them super fakes or mirror-quality replicas, and they're built by a small number of specialized factories using imported European leathers, custom-forged hardware, and stitching precise enough to closely mirror the construction of the real thing. Entry-level replicas still sell for as little as $260. But top and ultimate tier super fakes, the ones built to fool experienced eyes, run $600 to $1,200 or more. That's not a random price. It's priced exactly where it needs to be to feel like a steep discount against a $1,700 to $10,000 original, while still being expensive enough to fund genuinely skilled labor and real materials on the other end. Here's the detail that breaks people's intuition. This isn't a story about buyers being tricked into thinking a $30 bag is real. A huge amount of this market is buyers who know exactly what they're purchasing and sellers who know exactly what they're selling. The actual danger to the legitimate industry is the growing number of transactions where nobody involved is fully sure. 65% of counterfeit luxury transactions in 2024 happened through online platforms with weak or no verification systems. 20% of consumers that year unknowingly bought a fake luxury item, thinking it was real. And separately, about 26% of buyers aged 15 to 24 bought counterfeit goods on purpose within a single year, treating it less like fraud and more like a parallel, cheaper version of the same brand universe. So the resale and authentication industry had to respond because the entire second-hand luxury market runs on trust. Companies like Entropy built AI authentication systems, a handheld microscope-like scanner connected to an app that photographs a bag's stitching, hardware, and material at extremely high magnification, then compares it against a database of more than 25 million real and counterfeit reference images. It claims a 99.1% accuracy rate and turnaround as fast as a few minutes. Resale platforms now require it, but 99.1% isn't 100. The same top-tier factories building $600 to $1,200 superfakes are, by definition, the ones occasionally good enough to slip past even a machine trained on 25 million images. That's not a flaw in the technology. That's the ceiling of how good counterfeiting has actually gotten. Zoom out, and the scale is enormous. Counterfeit and pirated goods make up an estimated $467 billion of global trade, roughly 2.3% of everything bought and sold on Earth. Luxury goods specifically make up around 8% of that, and in 2024 alone, more than $110 billion worth of fake luxury items were confiscated in raids worldwide, on top of that $7.3 billion figure from U.S. Customs alone. This is not a cottage industry of street vendors. It's a global manufacturing and distribution network operating in parallel to, and in direct financial reaction to, the legitimate luxury industry's own pricing decisions. So who's actually making money here? Not, in most cases, the individual buyer, who's usually just getting a very good deal on a bag they know isn't real. The real winners are the specialized factories that figured out how to hit 90+% of the construction quality at a fraction of the price, the marketplaces and resellers moving volume with minimal verification, and on the other side of the fence, an entire new authentication industry that only exists because the fakes got good enough to require it. Meanwhile, the legitimate luxury brands are stuck defending a business model that depends on a 10 to 20 times markup holding steady, in a world where the actual materials and labor gap has never been more exposed. So here's the whole thing in one line. The fake handbag industry didn't get this big by fooling people who wanted the real thing. It got this big by professionalizing to the exact quality level where the line between a $10,000 original and a $1,000 mirror copy stopped being about materials and started being about which piece of paper says the word authentic.